Hey everyone, Brian here, and today we are beginning in the Gospel of John with one of my favorite sections of Scripture, starting with John verse 1 and going through verse 18. We're going to break this down into two different sections because there is a lot to get through. Like I said on the intro video, this text probably tells us more about who Jesus is than any other text in the entire Bible, and it's really just shows us exactly what John's going to be covering in detail for the remainder of the gospel. It's like this great overview of everything he's going to be talking about. So we're going to be touching on it all today. But it all centers on this. And I tell you this is the most important question every single one of you will ever have to answer in your entire life. Who is Jesus? And so we want to look today at what the Bible says Jesus is. Is he this blonde man who looks like he's from Germany with lots of feminine features like you always see in these paintings and whatnot, right? I remember when I was in high school and I had grown up in the church. I had grown up in Sunday school and all these things. So I could tell you stories about Jesus and all these things, but I didn't know him one bit. See, my idea of Jesus back then was that if I was a good kid, if I prayed sometimes, if I was nice to most people, if I didn't cuss too much, or if I didn't drink too much, or lie too much, that God was going to give me whatever I wanted. So this was my picture of Jesus. He was my magic genie, right? And what happened in my life was that he didn't end up giving me what I wanted when I was about 16 or 17 years old. He didn't give me what I want. And so I threw him aside and I said, I'm done with you. And it really showed who Jesus was to me, who God was to me. I was God, right? I told him what he needed to do. I was the one who was in charge. I was the Lord. And he was to do my bidding, not the other way around. So, what are some ideas that people have of who Jesus is today? Well, some people say Jesus is a myth. He is a story that people tell their children to make them behave and to do good, right? Like Santa Claus. I'm sorry if I just ruined Santa Claus for some of you. If you had young kids around right now, I should have done a disclaimer right there. My bad. I've already done that for like every kid at True Light. I'm sorry. But some people believe that. And that's just, to believe that is pure ignorance. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The historic Jesus is attested in the Bible. There's 4 biographies about him. And there's many other writings that speak of this Jesus of Nazareth who died on a Roman cross. Those things are not even debatable at this point. Next, a lot of people think that Jesus is Mr. Moneybags, right? That he wants you to be healthy and wealthy and be rich and have a plane and a jet, right? Also, hey, that'd be great, right? That we'd all be rich and famous and comfortable in our lives, but that is just not the case. Next Jesus? Well, it seems from a lot of Facebook posts I've read that people believe that Jesus must be a gun dealer of some sort or own a large supply of guns and believe that every person in America should have a gun. Don't know where that came from. Next, kind of goes along those lines. Jesus is an American with guns, right? Also, not true. Jesus is not America. America did not exist at the time of Jesus. It did not come around for 1750 years after Jesus' death. About. Next, on the kind of opposite aspect of that Jesus is a social activist, right? He's all about just peace and love and just wants everyone to get along, right? There's some truth in that, but as we're going to talk about when we go over these verses, that's a half-truth. Jesus was also very much about truth and talked about judgment and hell more than anybody in the entire Bible. I'm not sure if you knew that. but it's true. So why is this? Why do we get all these different ideas of who Jesus is? I'll tell you why I think it is. And it's something I call selfie Jesus. You see, people believe Jesus wants us to have guns. People want to believe that Jesus was a social activist. People want to believe that Jesus wants you to be rich. Why? Because they make him to look just like they are, right? Jesus ends up looking just like them. And here's the issue with that. If you mold Jesus into look just like you, then you really don't have to change anything about your life. And that's why people do it. Because they want to live however they want to live and do whatever they want to do. But it should be the other way around. We should truly look to who Jesus was, and we should be molded into that. He does the molding. He is the potter. We are the clay. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started here. We're going to read just right through John 1. We're going to go verses 1 through 18. And like I said, we're going to break this down into 2 chunks, but we'll go ahead and read the whole thing anyway. So John 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to bear witness about the light, that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but came to bear witness about the light. The true light, which gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own people did not receive him. But to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God, who were born not of blood, nor the will of the flesh, nor the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness about him and cried out, "This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me ranks before me, because he was before me." For from his fullness we have all received grace upon grace. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, the only God, who is at the Father's side. He has made him known. So we start with this phrase. John starts his entire gospel, in the beginning. Now, you Bible scholars out there, tell me, where else do we see those 3 words? Right at the very beginning of the Bible, right? In the beginning. So we go to Genesis 1, the very first book of the Bible that talks about creation. And we read, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." So in the beginning is talking about this time before any creation, before there was time. And John knows exactly what he's saying here. He's saying in the beginning, before there was time, before there was creation, was the Word. And so the first thing we learn about Jesus is that he is the Word, is what John says. Now, that sounds a little funny to us. That's a weird way to describe someone, right? So we've got to think, what do our words do? What are our words about? Well, our words, they reveal our thoughts. They reveal our intentions. They communicate meaning to us. And so by saying that Jesus is the Word, John is saying that he is the ultimate expression of God. Like, your words are how you express yourself to other people. And that's what Jesus is. He is the ultimate expression of God the Father, the one who came to communicate God to humans, the self-expression of God to all of humanity. So he is the Word, the communication from God, the revelation of God, The exact imprint of God is what Hebrews tells us. And then it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Okay, and he was God. So he was with God, and he was God. So what is going on here? So this is the first time in our gospel here we see this idea of the Christian God, which we call the Trinity. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. God the Father, Christ the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And no, people will tell you that word is not in the Bible. Trinity is not in the Bible at all. It is a term that has been used to describe the Christian God, the Trinity. And I will tell you what, it says that God is one, right? He is one being, but he's also three separate entities. That doesn't make sense to me. It's a paradox, right? It's crazy. But that's what the Bible says. And so I actually take comfort in it because, no one's making that up. Who's going to make up a paradox of a God? And really, if I have a God, someone creates a God that's easy to describe and he's just like me, I can tell you that it's probably made up. It's like all those Greek gods, Zeus and everything like that. They got drunk and they raged and they slept around just like we do, right? You can tell that somebody made those up just to fit our image. But this God is so different from us that it doesn't make sense, and that's fine by me. Maybe I'll figure it out when I get to heaven. I don't know. So, next thing it says about Jesus is that he is God. He was with God and he is God. And we will see that repeatedly through this gospel. John goes to so many great lengths to show us that Jesus is God. And what does that mean? It means that he is infinite. He is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega. He has been here since the beginning of time, and he will be here at the end of time. He has no beginning or end. It means he's omniscient, this word that just means that he knows everything. Nothing is past his understanding. He sees all things. He's omnipresent. He knows everything that goes on in this world. And he's omnipotent, which means he's all-powerful. Right? The word that always describes God in the Bible is holy. This word holy. And it means to be set apart, to be different. Right? And God is so different from us. He's so perfect in all of his ways. And it says that that is who Jesus is. He is God. And so we see to call Jesus a good teacher. He was a good teacher. He was a great teacher. But just to keep it at that just doesn't work. To say he's a great philosopher falls so short. You have no idea who Jesus is if that's who you think he is. It's claimed to be much more than that. Jesus made some extraordinary claims that we will read about in the Gospel of John and other places in the Gospels too. The Jews cornered him one time, and he told them, before Abraham who lived 2,000 years before Jesus, he said, before Abraham was, I am. I am is the name of God, right? And so he's definitely claiming to be God right there, and the Jews knew it because what they do, they picked up stones to kill him because they knew exactly what he had said. At Jesus' trial, right? They say, you must tell us, are you God? And Jesus says, you have said so. And from here on out, you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven. So Jesus made those claims, and he made many, many more extraordinary claims. This led C.S. Lewis to write in his book, Mere Christianity, something that people call Lewis's trilemma. And he says this, I am trying here to prevent anyone saying the really foolish thing that people often say about him, about Jesus. I'm ready to accept Jesus as a great moral teacher, but I don't accept his claim to be God. That is the one thing we must not say. A man who is merely a man and said the sort of things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He would either be a lunatic on a level with a man who says he is a poached egg, or else he would be the devil of hell. You must make your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else a madman madman, or something worse. You can shut him up for a fool. You can spit at him and kill him as a demon. Or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord and God. But let us not come with any patronizing nonsense about his being a great human teacher. He has not left that open to us. He did not intend to. Just a great point that he makes there. So, Jesus is God. He is the Word, and He is God. Next, Jesus is Creator. Let's get back to my text here. It says, all things were made through Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. Genesis 1 says that God spoke the world into existence, right? And what did we just say Jesus was? He was the Word, right? So through Jesus, the world was created. Colossians 1 really speaks to this and tells us about Jesus' power and authority. It says, He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by Him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created through Him and for Him. And He is before all things, and in Him all things hold together. So in the description of this video, I've put a couple links that I want you guys to go check out if you get time. And it really, there's a lot of things that people are taught these days that whether it's in school or wherever it's at, that we were all created through a big bang, and this is all just kind of a matter of chance. And people kind of teach those things without thinking much of them or whether they're even possible. So I've put a couple videos, links to videos in the description. If you get time, go watch those. Educate yourself about this world. Since we have science and know so much more about the world, really, the more we learn about science, the more it seems to indicate that there was a creator, that there was a supreme being that was before all things, that put it all into order. We see that by how precise everything is in our universe. So go check out those videos if you have time, okay? And so as creator, we owe Jesus everything, right? He created you, right? And so we don't have any say over Him. We don't get to mold Him. It is the Creator who does the molding, and we talked about that already. And many people don't want to admit He's Creator, because then you would have to admit that He needs to be in control of your life and that you belong to Him. Now, Jesus did not create this world we know right now. This world is crazy right now. Genesis 1 and 2, it tells us about this world that He did create. When that was paradise, it was perfect. There was no lies. There was no killing. There was no deception. There was no pandemics. There was no sickness. There was no death. But then in Genesis 3, we read about the fall, that man rebelled against God and His rule. Did not want to serve Him as the creator of the universe, but himself wanted to be God. And that is where we've gotten sickness and death and lies and greed and everything we have in this world. But that was not the world that God intended, nor that Jesus created. So Jesus is creator. So we're going to end right there today, and then we're going to pick up tomorrow in the same spot. I want you guys to know, like, even though this is not the world that God created, He didn't just stop. He wasn't just done with us when we rebelled against Him. But that's the whole reason why Jesus came to this earth, was to deal with the problem. And the problem was our sin, our rebellion, right? Jesus came down with one mission. That was the cross. And on that cross, Jesus went. Although He was perfect, although He did nothing to deserve it, He went to the cross. And on that cross, He took the punishment for all of my sin, everything I have done, every time I've missed the mark, everything we've done, little or big, He took the punishment for. He took the wrath of God that we deserve for us, so that those who believe in Him, who have given their lives to Him, would be seen as He is, as perfect in God's eyes, because His Son has paid their price. So I wanted to end on that. We'll resume again tomorrow.